Borealis, no stranger to my channel. I have featured many Borealis here on Watch Chris. This is their latest offering. It's called the Sintra, and it has a lot of influence from Omega and Grand Seiko. It's really a very interesting watch. It comes in very similar packaging to what we are used to from Borealis. It's just a single watch holder with a bungee enclosure. Inside, you're getting a watch. You get a warranty card. However, this is a prototype, so they did not send the warranty card with it. However, here is the watch, and you're going to immediately notice that Omega influence in the actual case, and then you're going to notice that Grand Seiko influence in that dial. That dial is beautiful. It has a sunburst effect. There is a texture. It sort of reminds me of a frost texture. You have a crosshair in the middle of the dial, and then a railroad track, minute track on the outside of the dial, on the outer portion of the dial. Then you have applied indices. Those are filled with loom. Then you have 12, 9, 6, and 3 at the primary indices. Those are filled with loom as well. It's sort of like an old radium loom. You get a little bit of color on the dial. It's a blue dial, obviously. You get an orange second hand. You get an orange name of the watch actually there down at the 6 o'clock, Sintra right there. Nothing else. This is actually a 200 meter watch, so you can actually use this, for pretty much anything. However, they don't put that on the dial. They don't put that it's automatic. They don't put that it's 200 meters. I like that. Declutter the dial a little bit. All of that information is on the back where we're used to seeing it. Very nice that they actually restrained and did not put it on the dial. Also, fence post hands. Those are filled with loom. Lollipop on that second hand, filled with loom. A lot of loom on this watch. We'll do a loom shot at the end. It is very bright. There is the B on the screwed down crown because you're getting 200 meters of water resistance. That also is loomed. It's actually a pretty thin watch. However, it's thick because of that extremely domed boxed sapphire crystal. Look at that. It adds a little bit of girth to the watch, but it's really welcome because it's so good looking, gives it a vintage vibe. I don't think I've seen such a boxed sapphire crystal in quite some time, and it's very smooth. There's like a nice edge to it as well. It does add thickness to the watch. However, this is a thin watch, as I mentioned, because it does get a Miyota movement inside, and it gets a 9000 series movement. So it is a 9000, it's actually a 90S5, but basically a 9039. The 90S5 is a movement that actually gets a open heart. However, since they're not using the open heart actual dial on here, you don't see it at all. So it's essentially a 9039 to the user. So basically this is a 9039 inside. And it is thin because of that. So with that sapphire crystal, it's like 12.6 millimeters. I would imagine it's under 12 millimeters, at least maybe around 11.5 millimeters without this box sapphire crystal. So really interesting. Then you have a little bezel that's polished that goes around the case. The case obviously very heavily influenced by Omega, the Aqua Terra, the 1970s Seamaster 300. I'll throw pictures of the Seamaster 300 up so you guys can see that. I actually have an Aqua Terra on my wrist today, a very special one, and I'll show you what I am talking about and how similar it actually looks with those turn lugs, the polish edge that you have on this case. Very nicely finished. The screwed-in crown and the screwed-in case back. Screwed-in case back is basically what we are used to from Borealis. The bracelet is a president-style bracelet. Sort of reminds me of what you get sometimes, depending on which Omega, of course, maybe like the Planet Ocean. Of course, differently executed, but very similar in style. And then you get screwed links on here, which is very nice. The buckle is a little bit generic from most micro brands. Only 4 positions of micro adjust, so not a ton of micro adjust here. It's on the smaller side. I wish that they would move away from this. I've said this about many micro brands. I would like to see a little bit of automatic or on the fly adjustment rather than just 4 positions of manual adjustment. Although that being said, it's a very useful, very robust, very functional buckle, which really isn't a bad thing. So it's good for everyday use. You're not going to have any issues with this buckle. It works very well. There you go. And it sounds really good. And it's all polished on the inside. I don't know, I don't see that very often. They polish the inside. And it makes a nice sound when it snaps closed. So very nice, very thick as well. But there you go. So thin watch. I'm going to do some measurements now. Like I said, the measurement on the thickness is around 12.5 millimeters thick, but it does wear thinner than that. And then the crown, 6.4 millimeters, and then the lug to lug is probably one of the largest measurements on here, and that is because it does have male end links. So it's 47 millimeters at the case, at the lugs itself, but including those male end links, you're getting around a 43 millimeter lug to lug, depending on where you catch it. So that is big. And then you have drilled lugs as well for quick change of straps. However, the case does measure in at around 41 millimeters, depending on where you catch it. So 41.4, 41.5 is what I'm getting. And it will wear like a 42 millimeter or 41 millimeter and a half watch, so basically spot on that. It might bother people with smaller wrists because of this large lug to lug, so that's something to keep in mind if you do have a smaller wrist. Very quickly, let me throw it on my wrist so you guys can see it on my 7.5 inch wrist. But before I do, let me show you the watch that I have on, and then we'll talk about price on this watch, and we will do a Loom Shot. The Loom Shot is really awesome on here. You do get those fence post hands. Those are filled with loom as well. I don't know if I mentioned that, but I just wanted to mention that as well. Very quickly, today I am wearing a world timer, and this is the Aqua Terra world timer on loan from ExquisiteTimepieces.com. The Aqua Terra, obviously a pretty awesome watch, and you could see the similarities in the case design here. Obviously, the Aqua Terra takes inspiration from vintage Seamasters. It's basically very, very similar to the vintage Seamaster 300, but you can see from the profile, obviously, this is more inspired by the vintage Seamaster 300, but you can see that Aqua Terra inspiration in the case as well. Really nice watch, beautiful watch, that world timer from Omega. One of the nicest world timers. I love world timers, and that is a beautiful watch. So, almost fitted to my 7.5 inch wrist, but not quite. You could see, like I said, that lug to lug on a smaller wrist might be an issue. On my wrist, 7.5 inch wrist, definitely not an issue, but you can see it sits down flat on my wrist, very close to the wrist. Beautiful. That sapphire crystal is insane. The dial is beautiful. They did a very good job on the execution of this watch. Now, right now, I think this watch is on their website. They do that sort of 50-50 thing that they do with pre-order. So you can order it for $249, I think, on pre-order. And then when the watch is available, you pay another $249. However, when you log on to their website, they offer you, I think it's 20 or 25% off immediately. I think you get that on the watch, the first payment. If that's the case, then you're paying, you're actually paying $187, somewhere around there, on that first payment, and then $249 on the second payment. If you could do that on both payments, obviously this brings this watch under $400, which is really, really, really good, in that $370 range, somewhere around there. That is an excellent price for this watch. Beautiful watch. That dial is gorgeous. Blue and orange, the Mets colors. I don't know if anybody is a Mets fan, but they make this with a few different other colors also. And they make it like with a frost dial as well, which is gorgeous. They've been doing that. They've done that for a few of their watches now. I think that they are paying attention to the market for Seiko and obviously Omega, very hot watches right now, and makes sense. They're beautiful watches. This is a beautiful watch. They did a really good job. Very quickly, Loom Shot. You're going to be impressed with the loom. Lots of loom on the dial, and of course you have a loom crown. Well, there you go. In the camera, it almost looks like it's glowing, almost like the minute track is loomed. It is not. It's just glowing in that box sapphire crystal, which looks amazing. Everything is loomed, as I mentioned. So you have the indices. You have that 12, 9, 3, and 6. That is loomed. The lollipop on the second hand, loomed. Obviously, liberally applied with loom everywhere. And then you get that loom crown with the B right there for Borealis. They did a really good job on this watch. It's beautiful. They really did a good job. The only complaints that I would have is that I wish it did have female end links. And that's probably it. The buckle is nice. However, again, I would like to see a little bit of on the fly micro adjust eventually from all brands. I say this about every single brand that I review. So majority of them do not do that yet. So hopefully in the future, we will get that. I think it'll be really good. Other than that, this is just a beautiful watch. The dial, the case, the execution, they did a really good job. It's an homage to some pretty cool watches. However, it's not really like a copy or anything like that. It's its own watch. It stands on its own. Very similar case design. However, the dial itself and the way they laid it out. The fact that they restrained themselves and didn't put automatic on the dial and 200 meters and all of that stuff, I really like it. I think they did a great job. Anyway, tell me what you guys think in the comments below. What do you think of this watch? What do you think of the dial? I know a lot of other channels have had this watch on there for review. And I'm a little bit late to the game, but this blue dial is really killer. I really do think it's something special. Tell me what you guys think in the comments below. Please also don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell icon. It is super helpful for the channel. I very much appreciate it. Please follow me on Instagram. My Instagram is WatchChrisBlog, all one word. I have some links in the description. Those links are to Amazon. If you click those links and buy anything, it helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything extra. However, I very much appreciate it. Anyway, thank you for logging on. I'll catch you guys in the next video.